How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is PSReady, my channel all about PlayStation. And in today's video, we have 3 topics to cover, starting out with the fact that the showcase rumors are heating up once again, and the timing really does seem like it's going to work out in our favor. Second on the list, the PSPlus price increase I warned you about last week is getting even closer to home if you're in the United States, so get ready. And finally, there's a new game coming to PS5 that I've put so many hours into on PC, so I wanted to put it on your radar. But let's jump into the first news story here and talk about the new showcase that's being rumored. But this time around, I'm actually starting to believe it. This is coming from Detective Seeds, who's been right a lot of times in the past. And even though last year, it was definitely time for a showcase, and earlier this year, it was definitely time for a showcase. Now it is really time for a showcase. It's been 2 years since they did their last one. It was around this time of the year. So at first, when I read this news story, I was like, oh, people are just looking at the calendar and saying, well, they did one in 2021. They did one in 2023 around spring. So we'll just guess that they're going to do one in spring of 2025. And if we're right, we'll take credit for it. But because this person has been right so many times in the past, I am willing to believe it, because there's a lot of games we got to hear about, especially with the looming threat of the Nintendo Switch 2. And they just sorely need a real big bang of a showcase, right? Like, we got some decent state of plays. The one that was earlier this year, I'm pretty sure, if not the end of last year. No, it was earlier this year. They had some really cool stuff to show off between indie games, third-party games, even some big first-party games like Intergalactic at the end of last year, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2. There's so many games coming out, but like, they could announce more, and we need to hear more because of the plaguing problem that's been plaguing, I'll use it twice, the PlayStation 5 throughout this entire generation, which is a severe drought of first-party games that actually only support the PS5 and PS5 Pro. And speaking of the PS5 Pro, now that that's out there, there is no excuse to continue supporting the PlayStation 4 with new game releases, so they need to set the roadmap for the rest of this generation. Like, they need to get some games out there into the world so that people can talk about them. It would also be nice to get a hardware update, because everything is constantly in flux. I mean, you got Xbox going full third-party publisher. The new Oblivion remake is allegedly coming out tomorrow when I'm recording this video. Nintendo is like hot on Sony's heels with the Switch 2, and it's going to play big games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Elden Ring and have a bunch of first-party releases throughout the end of the year, allegedly. So there is a dire need, I think, for Sony to kind of just quell some fears and set the record straight on their roadmap for the rest of the generation. We want assurances that they're going to continue working on hardware, maybe some hints about the handheld, which I'm going to talk about in the next video. Like, we need to know what's going on at Santa Monica Studio. We need to finally have this next Uncharted game that's been rumored forever revealed. There's that new God of War we've been hearing about for a while now. Allegedly, it was supposed to be announced during the 20th anniversary of God of War, but then it was pushed back. I can't think of a better place to announce a new Greek saga game with the gameplay of God of War and God of War Ragnarok than, of course, a big showcase. Phantom Blade Zero is another one that I love looking at footage of this game. I've never gotten to play it. It was playable at an event I was at last year. The kiosk was just like always taken up because apparently people were having so much fun, but I really do feel like that's going to be a sleeper hit for Sony. So yeah, we need some updates on a lot of big games. So whereas the state of play structure is like a lot of new stuff that's smaller or medium tier and then one big blowout game at the end, the showcase structure is completely different in the sense that they just announce big game after big game after big game. And I think it's been more than long enough since we've heard from a lot of these studios that have been cooking for years now. And if you want to know when the best time to announce the release date of Ghost of Yotei is, of course, it's a showcase. We haven't really gotten any gameplay from this. Like, we've seen it in action, of course, in that super long, awesome reveal trailer for the game, but like getting a full gameplay breakdown that maybe talks about some of the systems that are changing, some of the new things that are being added to the game, and of course, puts you in the world. Like, they did that blog post update a little bit ago that kind of explained a little bit of the story, but like, it's 300 years after the first Ghost of Tsushima. I'd assume things are a lot different in Japan, especially considering the Yotei region, wherever this takes place, is not under Japanese control. Like, this looks like a very different game from a story perspective than something like Ghost of Tsushima. So I think they need to get ahead of some gameplay and really drum up excitement from the mainstream. I think hardcore players are obviously very excited for Ghost of Yotei, but like, they got to get the word out that this is going to be worth playing on your PlayStation 5. If there's one one game that's been kind of overexposed to the point where I don't think it should take up room in a showcase. It's Death Stranding 2. We've had Kojima doing all the marketing for it. He showed it off at South by Southwest. A24 is working on a new movie in that universe. I feel like that can just be its own thing. It's not a true first-party game. It's not even a second-party game. It's a timed third-party exclusive. I think Kojima owns the rights to Death Stranding. I don't even think Sony owns it. I think they pay for a lot of the development just to keep it exclusive as long as possible. So let's hear from Ghost of Yotei. Let's hear from Santa Monica Studio. Let's hear about this new God of War. Resident Evil 9 would be a huge game to announce at this. Some content updates for Monster Hunter Wilds. Of course, maybe tease the third game in the Final Fantasy VII trilogy. Maybe the next Final Fantasy. Like, we don't know what's out there and we need to hear it from Sony. So I think these rumors are true. I think May or June is a perfect time to announce a bunch of video games. You've got Summer Game Fest happening. You've got people at home from school. Everyone's probably playing video games inside instead of enjoying the nice weather. That's a good time to do a showcase. And it's also been 2 years. And the one before that was 2 years prior. So everything's kind of coming together to finally get this showcase we've been asking for years now. Like, it is so past time. Please do it, Sony. But yeah, unfortunately, the next news story is kind of a negative one. We got to talk about price increases. It feels like the world is closing in on me living in the United States when it comes to how expensive video games are getting. Like, there was the whole situation with the Switch 2 where people were wondering if it was going to cost more. They said no, the Switch 2 itself is going to be $450, but then they ratcheted up the price on all the accessories, like $99 for Joy-Cons, which is crazy. And then in other countries, basically every territory that the PS5 is sold in, they did a price increase across the board, which is insane. And then they increased PSPlus in a lot of countries. And it was kind of all far away from the United States. Like, it was Central America, Europe, and the eastern side of the globe and the southern side of the globe. But everything was kind of staying away from the true West over here in the United States. But now Canada has been thrown into the mix and Sony has done a price increase across the board. I know there's a lot of Canadian viewers of this channel because you guys always let me know this sucks. They, like, when I talk about how expensive things are here in the United States now, I know I've got a lot of people in Michigan watching who work like regular jobs where you're doing manual labor, you're doing construction, and like the bills are just like crazy now. Food is expensive, gas is expensive, all the stuff you need in your everyday life is expensive. It's just as bad in Canada for a lot of people. I live in Detroit, Windsor's right there. I talk to people at bars and stuff when I'm hanging out with my friends. So I don't think these price increases help anywhere. Like, I get that Sony wants to make a profit, but like, you got to give as much as you're taking, really. Like, we don't have a ton of new games to look forward to at this point in time outside of Death Stranding and Ghost of Yotei. The morale around PlayStation is kind of low because of the insane price that they're charging for the PS5 Pro and the accessories and everything like that. We've got the looming threat of games going up to $80 and GTA 6 maybe being $100. Like, maybe eat a little bit of the cost on PlayStation Plus. You're charging us for online access and a subscription service that I doubt a lot of people take advantage of. There's no reason to be this nickel and dimey penny pinching with all this crap. Just take a little bit of a loss there, actually put out some good games, and then you'll reap the rewards of that, just like it used to work back in the day. I just really feel for everyone. I talk about on my Steam Deck channel how I don't have Game Pass. I like literally have no need for Game Pass. I barely use my Xbox Series X. I saw you can trade it in for $420 to the $450 Switch 2. I might do that. I played Gears of War with my buddies last year. That's the first time since I moved to Michigan I turned that damn thing on, so I don't need it collecting dust on my shelf. It's like my rare case where I might trade something into GameStop. I really have no need for Game Pass because it doesn't work on Steam Deck either. I use PlayStation Plus though. I like Essential. I buy a lot of games, so like I don't need the whole library of games, but like it's just a crappy situation where Xbox created this subscription service. It worked really well for the first couple of years, so then Sony's investors and shareholders were like, hey, this is working for them and it's working for Ubisoft and EA, I guess. Why don't you have a subscription service? So they throw together a subscription service, and then by the time it's out, Game Pass totally plateaus and people start leaving the thing. And now Phil Spencer's saying that it's not for everyone. He's totally changed his tune as usual about the marketing around this stuff. And we're left here with the ever increasing costs of these mistakes where you're chasing other people's stuff. It's crazy that Sony can innovate so hard on hardware with things like the DualSense and the PS5 Pro and PSSR, and they're working with AMD on FSR4 before. And then when it comes to like services or like games that they're making with live service stuff like Marathon and everything, they're just totally following in everyone else's footsteps. And I genuinely don't get why. I like when Sony thinks outside of the box and does original things, because that's what drew me to the console in the first place. Like I had a 360 and then I saw Uncharted on YouTube and I was like blown away that was an experience I could only get on PlayStation. Resistance 2, like games I talk about all the time on this channel, were great during the PS3 generation because Sony was doing what no one else did. And I feel like a lot of the big consequences they're facing right now is because they're doing things that other people are doing later when people stop caring about the cool thing that was new 5 years ago in the first place. I just don't get, outside of the whole profit situation, like why they're even doing this. It's like, it doesn't help. It just hurts. It hurts your brand. It hurts your image, and it's pissing off fans who are already kind of irritated at the lack of games for this $500 console that actually push it to its limit. We've had probably 2 or 3 of those since the PS5 came out. So they gotta take a step back, reorganize, and start going back to PS3 era Sony, which was extremely consumer friendly. They're getting to that point once again. But speaking of great games that you might want to keep your eye on, I've been playing a ton of Ready or Not on my PC. I bought it in early access, and then I saw some YouTube video that talked about the lore in it. In my mind, this was just a PvP game, like a cop shooter PvP game, like where you're a SWAT team and you have like realistic graphics and everything like that. Turns out it's all PvE, where you go into insane levels like a meth street where these people are cooking meth in tunnels they dug with their hands, and they're building bridges between houses. There was a big hotel level I did. There's a creepy rehab center that got turned into a child's talent agency, and that one is scary as hell. It's PvE only, and you can play it single player and command a squad of 4 SWAT players, or you can play it multiplayer with up to 5 people, and that's how I've been playing it with my friends over at Last Stand Media, Dustin, Ben, and everyone else, and it's been an absolute blast. So people are kind of wondering if this would ever come to console, and thankfully not only is it coming to the PlayStation 5, it's coming pretty soon. Void Interactive, the developers, said that it's coming out. They released a little trailer, which is good, but they also said it's coming out this summer. So I would guess July or August, because if it was June, they'd probably put a release date on it. But if you've been looking for a really cool, tactical, and genuinely scary PvE successor to SWAT 4, SOCOM, or Unit 13 from the Vita, I think this is a game you should definitely keep your eye on. Another cool thing is that it runs extremely well on PC. It's Unreal Engine, but I don't think it's Unreal 5. It's Unreal 4, which means it doesn't have a lot of the problems that Unreal Engine 5 has, but it still looks absolutely phenomenal. Like, I run it completely maxed out on my gaming laptop at 1440p. I never see the frame rate drop below 60 FPS. I keep it locked there, and I never see the number 59 or below ever. And it's honestly a game that I think would work well on a controller because you're moving slow. There's no sprint in this game. You can only like walk fast or walk slow. It's very realistic in the sense that one bullet is enough to put someone down, and you're really disincentivized from shooting. But you know, the way I play it is, if someone is yelling at me and I give them one chance. I say, put your gun down. If they don't do it, I'm saving my life. Like, I'm sorry. It's an FPS game. It's a video game. I want to shoot people in it because it's fun. Another cool thing is that the vast majority of the weapons, attachments, and tactical gear are unlocked from the start. So you have to read the mission briefing and then look at your arsenal at this police station and be like, do I need full ceramic armor? Do I need steel armor? Do I need Kevlar? Do I need a full body shield? Do I need a face mask? Or do I want to go in light with no armor and just a heavy powered beanbag shotgun? Like, there's a lot of strategy to it. And when you start throwing in multiplayer and adding your friends into the mix, you can divvy up the tools between all of you. So like my buddy Dustin uses a grenade launcher that shoots flashbang. So we'll like breach the door because my other friend Brandon uses like one of those battering rams. So he'll battering ram the door. It flies open. Dustin will shoot in a flashbang, and I'll go in and tell everyone to get their guns on the floor and handcuff them. So there's a lot of like team play stuff you can work with. And the newest DLC, Dark Waters, is kind of really pushing the whole SWAT element because it's very operator territory. I would say the levels that come with it are like an abandoned hotel that's taken over by a gang. Then there's a oil rig, and the AI is insane. Like, the guys can hide from you or pick up their dead enemies' weapons. And there's like a home invasion DLC. Like, there's a ton of content here. Just in the base game, you get 18 levels. If you've been looking for a tactical shooter on console that's actually going to work with a controller, I think Ready or Not is definitely a game you should put at the top of your list. So yeah, got a little bit of bummer news at the beginning, but I think we wrapped it up here with a really cool game. If you played Ready or Not on PC, please let me know down in the comments below. As always, guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.